Deutschland, Niederlande, Nicole Roth aus den Ländern, Brasilien, Zhao Yang aus China, Victoria Döniker aus Deutschland, Missy Go aus den USA, Heidi Clark aus Kanada, Katie Julia aus den USA. Curtis aus den USA, Alicia Klipper habe ich das Land vergessen, Italien, dann zwei Chinesinnen, Nian Chukin und Song Sie als 24. und 25. Dann die Italienerin Alessandra Fumagani und als 27. aus Kolumbien Laura Vargas, mit der 28 Julia Simchen aus der Schweiz, die Dänin Nana Johann 29. als 30. Li Lucy aus China, Nicole Vorhaus als 31. Carla Soto als 32. Katharina aus Liechtenstein, 33. Sarah Schmid als 34. aus der Schweiz, Clara Aslar aus Spanien, Anna Torres ebenfalls aus Spanien, aus Belgien, Dänemark und aus Spanien. 1 Minute noch bis zum Start des nächsten Kurschrittes.
Winterberg in Germany, the first race weekend of a brand new year. 2025 dawns with race 6 of the IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup this afternoon here in a very snowy Winterberg. Well, fortunately, the white stuff has at least temporarily stopped falling from the heavens, and that means hopefully good conditions for our 38, make that now 37 sliders in the women's field. We just had a late retirement from Lian Luqian of China. So what can our athletes expect? Well, this is a track that is familiar to many of them from the lower levels, if not exactly from the World Cup. A fast start is always a benefit. This is a flat start, not very long. Little zero kink here that leads you down onto the old track, turn 1. The zero kink introduced when they built the big new start building. Turn 2, little 1, 2, sort of 3 pressure-ish corner. Very easy to lose speed there, and in 3. And from here you go uphill. This is not misleading. Over the brow in 4, and then flat, and start dropping down about 3 stories down in turn 5. Really accelerating now. Listen to the wind noise. Out of corner 6 into the big Kreisel. 2 pressures here, 7. Clean exit, absolutely critical. 8's a little dink into 9. This sets you up for the lower part of the track. And then from 10, it looks like a long corner. Short transition though into 11, into 12, into 13. This is a very quick labyrinth down into 14. And a sort of 2 and a long pressure, possibly even rolling off the line to take advantage of your speed at the bottom. Well, the start record from Russia's Elena Nikitina. Russian skeleton athletes own the men and the women's start record. And the track record from a serial winner on this track, Kimberly Boss. Now, she goes off 3rd in our World Cup standings for the season. And Kimberly has had a series of successes here, 3 consecutive wins. Didn't make the podium last time out, which was a World Championship rather than a World Cup race here. That was Hallie Clark. Well, there is Kimberly Boss. Both races in the 21-22 season and one in 22-23. Hannah Nizer with 2 bronze medals. Hallie Clark, the world champion on this track in February 2024. Hometown queen, Jackie Pfeiffer. How will she do? She's had wins here before. Mystique Rowe, dynamic starter, and now has the knowledge of these European tracks that she needs to really produce the goods. So we've got a real mixture here. How many winners? Well, Hallie Clark, a world champion on this track. Kimberly Boss won the 3 before her. Tina Herman and Jacqueline Lurling shared the honours with the likes of Liz Vache and Lizzie Arnold. And the earliest winner in our field is Katie Eulender, a winner here in the 2006-07 season. She goes away in 16th place out of a field of 38 sleds originally, now 37. As we've just been told that Liang Yuxin will not go off in 24th place. So no debutantes in the women's field. Race 6 of the IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're in Winterberg in Germany. Hometown track for Suzanne Kreher. Let's see what the 2023 world champion can produce for us. 5:67 getaway. Start record is a 5:07. So immediately we know, compared to the men's race, start area conditions much, much better. We only got within 1200s of the men's start, finally, in the second heat. They were way off in the first heat when it was really snowing. Much clearer track. The athletes will benefit from the track workers having had maybe half an hour to try and sweep away the worst of the snow since the men's race finished. And a nice, smooth-looking run from Suzanne Kreher. Now down into the lower parts of the track, out of corner 9. Into 10, this long right-hander at 11, and then 12, 13, whipping through into the final corner, 14. A long 2-pressure corner across the line, 58.97, so 2.27 seconds away from the fastest run. And that was back in December 2021, Kimberly Boss's track record and her first win on this track. She has gone on to win in other places, but 3 on the bounce here in Winterberg. Well, good-looking start from Suzanne Kreher. Watch those feet running parallel to the starting groove rather than meandering over to her left, which is so easy to do when you're leaned over like that. It's a real art. It's not just speed. Next up, one of our 3 British sliders, all of whom have been in the medals this season. Freya Tarbit, though, a gold medalist already this year. What a season she is having. Lies 4th in the World Cup standings, won race 2 in Pyeongchang. 5:55 getaway. So with that immediate 1200ths of a second advantage and better speed as well than Suzanne Kreher. So now what she's got to do is build on that and not wipe it off on the walls by falling off onto the floor of the track, by bumping against the walls, not by steering too much either. 3500ths up, a little to the left, and so a big spike coming onto the Kreisel. Nice exit, not too late. Little bit of a compromise steer there down into corner 9. Best speed, quicker than Suzanne Kreher. And the British skeleton women having a really strong start to the season. I mean, we're well into the second half of it now. This is race 6 of 8. Only 2 more World Cup rounds remain before the World Championships. 58.46, half a second quicker than Suzanne Kreher, a German on a German track and a world champion to boot. So it's a very nice looking run from Freya Tarbit. She'll immediately go off and analyse the bits that need tidying up. Again, look at the form. Heels together, shoulders nice and low, pressed down against the sled for minimal frontal area. That's why aeroplanes aren't wide at the front. Next up, our 3rd starter in her 110th World Cup race, Janine Flock, looking for podium number 40, Currently 39 World Cup podiums, tied as the all-time highest scorer with Tina Hermann of Germany. Hermann, a four-time world champion. She's here today. 5:57. Tina retired at the end of last season. She's here in her Bundespolizei jacket, keeping warm among the crowd. And Janine has got plenty of decent results on this track. She's never won here, and she has been in the medals on a number of occasions. Best speed of all. She's going to close the margin down on Freya Tarbit. Nice clean exit out of 9 as well. There it is. That's what she needed. She was clean out of the Kreisel, clean out of 9 and down into the lower labyrinth. She will motor away. 1300s up, could be 2/10 plus at the line. 128.5 speed. 2400s up, 58.22. Well, of winners here in the last 17 seasons, only 3 are still competing. Hallie Clark, the world champion, Kimberly Boss, the 3-time World Cup winner, and Katie Uhlaender. But Janine Flock, medalist a couple of seasons ago, in fact, hasn't had a medal here since 2021, when she was last on the podium. So, could be. That looked like a nice run. Lots of ice still to cover. Amelia Coltman, our first winner of the season, won the crazy race 1 in Pyeongchang, coming from, what, 14th place after the first heat, something like that. 5th last time out in Sigulda. Let's see what she's got for us today. 5:44, again, a strong start. 61.4 kilometres now, not just the fastest start, but the best velocity as well. And by 0.3 of a kilometre an hour over her teammate Freya Tarbit, who's the second fastest starter. So she loaded well, she carried that speed onto the sled well, and she's carrying it down a little skiddy, down into from 5 to 6. Didn't get the big spike in the Kreisel that Freya did, so that covers a little less ground, takes a bit less energy out of the sled, because of course it takes energy to spike you up there. Good looking run. 2200, still over Janine Flock. 1300s, this is going to be very close. Could be to the 100th of a second, not quite as quick as the Austrian. Not quite as quick as the Austrian, it is 100th in it. Nice looking run though from Amelia Coltman. Anytime you're 100th away from Janine Flock, you're having a pretty good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever. They'll be racing again this evening, not everybody, but a lot of our athletes. We've got another of our mixed team competitions for 1 male and 1 female slider from each nation per team. We've got 19 teams, I believe, currently on the lineup for this evening, and that'll be happening at 6 o'clock local, 1700 GMT. Freya Tarbit, not a member of the Red Arrows, by the way, would love to be. Kim Marmans, silver medalist in the World Championships, last time out. What can the little Belgian do? 5:52, another strong start from Marmans. Huge day for her in Altenburg, her first ever World Cup win after she didn't race in Yangqing in China. Had a decent start to the season in Pyeongchang, but since we hit European tracks, gold in Altenburg, silver in Sigulda. 1200's off, 500's faster than Janine Flock at the start, but she's not matching that pace. Coach Richard Bromley, who's helping with the setup and the technology and the sleds, definitely be looking at this run, trying to figure out what they can do with the runners they've chosen for today to give her a bit more speed down the run in the second heat. 6400's back. Well, we measure everything to the 100th of a second, but it's not always such a precise art. You have to guesstimate, stroke predict what the weather and track conditions are going to be like at least a day in advance. That isn't always easy. First of our two Belgian sliders in the field. Nice exit off the zero kink. And again down here. Out of corner 11. Nice line right in the middle of the track. All right, one more to go. I think that is a given. 5 down and umpteen left still to go in our field of 37 sleds. Next up is Hannah Neiser, the Olympic champion and World Championship bronze medalist here. Another hometown heroine. BSV Winterberg, the club at the track here. 5:65. That's actually second slowest of our starts. Only teammate Suzanne Kreher was slower. But as we've seen so many times from the German sliders, it's not what you do in the first 5 meters, it's what you do at the end of 11, 12, 13, 14, 1500 meters that makes the difference. So she's gone from 800s back to 11 to 1700s, but look at this, highest speed into the Kreisel and excellent lines. Look at that, absolutely perfect on the way out. Still best speed, and now from 9 on down is where that will start to reduce the deficit. Gaps down from 17 to 13 to 12, still the best speed. Does she take the lead? Is she second? No, 1700s back. Didn't have enough of a speed advantage low down to undo that slower start. Well, the start defines the finish a little less in the women's field than it does in the men's. But like in any race, if you don't start as quick as your rivals, you need a lot more ground to make up for that deficit. And there was a couple of errors there. Watch those toes. Left toe steer, right toe steer. Here in 11, she's got the line she wants, but didn't quite have the speed on board. So Hannah Neiser lies in 3rd, Suzanne Kreher in 6th. Next up, Tabby Sturker from Great Britain. 7th of our 37 starters in the field. 5:29 getaway, another strong start and a good way to deal with the zero kink, that little dink. Came off it nice and clean. 3800s up on Janine Flock from 2800s at the start. And again, the speed advantage, 5:29 her start compared to 5:57 for the Austrian. But the gap is coming down, only the 5th best speed and a big spike, double wave in a Kreisel, late flop as well, skidding there as well. 2nd on the splits. She's still got a time advantage, but she's falling behind what the Austrian was doing on the ice. The speed's not there. 100 separates Janine Flock in 1st and Amelia Coltman in 2nd. Hannah Neiser 1700s back. This is going to be 4th, 5th at the line. So 3 British sliders in the top 5, and we already have 2 of our German sliders completed their first runs. So Austria, Great Britain, Germany, Great Britain, Belgium, your top 6. Well, the Kreisel was as uncomfortable as it looks. Came on the wrong side, big first pressure, big second pressure, and it was late. Then she had to correct coming off the Kreisel.
Thanks for watching. Happy New Year.
A little bit more support now, I think. This is Jacka. Jacqueline Pfeiffer, Jacqueline Lurling as was, 2017 world champion, and the Winterberg queen. This is her home track. Won here in the 17-18 season and in 18-19. She's had a slew of other medals. 4 silvers, never a bronze. 5:59. Worry not about the start. Worry more about what Jacka does when she's on the sled. 6th quickest start, 100th off the leader. So she's starting absolutely on a par with Janine Flock, just 200ths of a second behind our first heat leader. And look at the form of this woman. She's tall, she's got relatively narrow shoulders, very similar to Janine. So she presents a small frontal area, and she's got so much experience. One of Germany's great skeleton sliders, Jacka. 500ths in it. Don't forget, only 100th first to second. 3rd best speed. She's not going to be second. 3rd at the line. Top 3 covered by 1100ths.
Finish time 58.33.
So her 67th World Cup start. Jackie Pfeiffer, 12 wins, 2 of them on home ice. 2015 Worlds, she came so close, took the silver medal here in Winterberg. But the Olympic champion then, Lizzie Arnold, snatched the gold. Went on, of course, to claim her 2nd Olympic gold in 2018. Next up is the winningest woman on this track, Kimberly Bos. Fittingly, perhaps the closest to the Netherlands. I don't think that's got anything to do with it. It just works for her. 5:42. 3 wins on the bounce on this track in the 2 seasons before last year's World Championships. Didn't get a World Championship medal, but she is always quick here. She slides it like the Germans do. 1500ths ahead of Janine at the start. 2300ths up, hard onto 6. That gap comes down. She loses speed into the Kreisel. Little late flop off the Kreisel. The gap's coming back down again from 23 to 200ths of a second. Only the 6th best speed. Another Bromley slider. Her coach and sled builder, though, is Kristen Bromley. Dr. Ice, 900ths back, 5th best speed. It's top 5 at the line. Is it 4th? It's 5th place. Kimberly Bos, 2100ths back. It was a good-looking slide from Kimberly Bos. Couple of little errors. This is her coming 5 into 6, gets knocked away on just a whisker early in the take-on of corner 6. And that then leaves you struggling in the Kreisel. Nicole Silveira, another of our medalists this season, the Brazilian claiming bronze in the season opener. 7th in Altenburg, her 2nd best result of the year, then 14th in Sigulda, track that didn't really go well for her at all this season. 5:59 to get away. Just 200ths behind Janine Flock at the start, and tied with her for the lead. Teammate, training partner, let's say, rather than actual geographical and national teammate with Kim Marmans, but they share everything, including their Bromley sled technology and coach Richard Bromley. 4th best speed. Just a few hundreds in it. This could be a top 3 run. Nicole Silveira is flying. Little correction down at the bottom, out of 13 into 14 and across the line. 2200s back is 6th position. Really strong first heat. The problem now is the reset. Once you've won a medal, you know you can do it And it's trying to do it and repeat that success. That's the difficulty. Well, with every race, she gets more experienced, more accomplished, more polished, smoother and faster. We're getting Happy New Year in a lot of different languages today. 3rd of January, Janine Flock leads by 100th from Amelia Coltman, and a quarter of a second covered the top 7. Next up from China, Xiao Dan, another of our medalists this season, the winner in Yangqing, the Beijing Olympic track. What a day for her. 5:49. So starts off 800s ahead of Janine Flock. It's a very mixed day for the Chinese men. Yun Cheng, the bronze medalist in the World Championships in February 24, finished barely in the top 20. Oh, and she's scrambling. You saw those heels spread wide apart as she tries to stabilise the sled. Speed's going away, only the 10th best speed, and she plummets out of the lead. So tricky. They haven't been on the track for 2 days, having to work hard, really think fast to gauge how much or how little you need to steer compared to the last time you slid it. You don't get endless hours of slides and repetition to really fine-tune your art. So much of this is feel and instinct, and the longer you've been doing it, the better you'll feel and the broader your instinct. Well, Xiao Dan, as ever, with a smile. But here again, you just saw the end of that big correction coming onto the Kreisel, and she's just toe dragging off it as well. She comes off, but still too late, and just bumps the wall a fraction as she heads out of the Kreisel down towards 8. Happy New Year. Now then, for Germany, Victoria Dörnicke making her World Cup debut. Let's see what this young lady can produce. 5:22 is an excellent getaway. Absolutely flying. 3,500s ahead of Janine Flock from the start. 4,400s ahead of Janine Flock. What a great first part of the track. Down to 5, you can give away so much speed. She keeps it straight. Looking good so far, still with the lead. It's coming down, 1100s as she comes out of corner 9. Out of 11, in the red. But what a debut from Victoria Dörnicke. Only the 11th best speed, but across the line, 8th position. Well, no question at all that she's going to make the cut on her World Cup debut. Brilliant stuff from Victoria Dörnicke of Germany. Steps up to the big time in the World Cup here in Winterberg, which could be a double-edged sword, really. Home ice, familiar territory, but home ice, big expectations to perform. I'm sure she felt both of those emotions. Next up for the USA, Mystique Rowe. Had a little bit of an up and down season. Best result, 7th place in Sigulda, but that's only one of 2 top 10 results this season. 5:33 for Mystique. A little bit more familiar with Winterberg, particularly after having been here during the World Championships last year. Whereas on the Asian tracks, not so much at the start of the season. 4100s up, maintains that advantage, but only 7th best speed into the Kreisel. Drops down out of 9. Ooh, again, having to work hard for control. High in 11. Rocking and rolling, 12 and 13, and that's just bumping speed off the sled. Is she going to lead at the line? No, 900s back. That was below 11. It all went away. And that was as a result of coming off 9 and having to work in 10, 11. But that is close. The top 3 now covered by 900s. Late here, out of 9. And then has to scramble to try and avoid big impact in 10. So out of 11, little variation in the line. Almost everybody else is a sort of constant radius, if you like. But she was down and up and down, and just enough to bleed away that speed. Now then, the return of our world champion, Hallie Clark, missed a couple of races before the Christmas New Year break. Back home in Canada with friends and family. I'm sure she is back here rejuvenated and ready to go again. 5:44 getaway, another strong starter. But 2200s behind Victoria Dernicker, the young German rookie. Still ahead of our current leader though, Janine Flock. Ooh, working hard, not quite with the control she needed there, into the Kreisel. Neatly out of it, but 5.6 weren't great. Just 500ths of a second back, but look at the speed, only 11th best speed. Hannah Neisser and Janine Flock were fastest at the bottom. Quarter of a second covers the top 8. Outside of that, 9th place. 300s ahead of Victoria Dernicker, having started 2200 slower than the German. It'll be interesting, I think, to see what Victoria Dernicker produces in the second heat. If she flows a little bit more fluidly. I can imagine there might have been nerves in the first wave. So Hallie getting very high. Exit 5 into 6. Was that 9.10? 9.10 possibly. Next up, Italy's Valentina Margalio. "31-year-old over the Christmas New Year break, like her teammates, starting to do a little bit of work towards Milan Cortina. I don't just mean athletic work, I mean promotional and PR work. It's all starting to ramp up. 5:31 getaway. So 3rd fastest starter, 2600s ahead of Janine Flock with the push. Valentina, I guess she doesn't need to peak this year, but 6 World Cup races into next season, boy, she had better be in medal contention position heading into the Olympics. It's been a really off-form season for the Italian team, almost across the board so far. Valentina still with a good lead here, keeping her dreams alive, but it's gone from 4/10 to 2/10 to no tenths and only the 15th best speed. She was having to work very hard in the labyrinth. She's gone from 4000s up to 2700s back. And that's below corner 9. Corner 9, 4/10 up at the line, 2700s back. How much is drive? How much is equipment? And how long before frustration starts to rear its ugly head? She does seem to have the ability to brush things off a little. What she doesn't have is 107 World Cup races of experience, and Katie Uehlender's got that. Start number 108. Deals with the Zero King. She remembers Winterberg before the New Start building. That's when, well, she won at Winterberg before the New Start building. 2006-07 race winner Katie Uehlender. Started 5:63, so just 600ths behind Janine Flock. Gaps out to 2200ths though, and only the 13th best speed into the Kreisel. I think the US program needs a kit revival. It would work wonders for Team GB. The Americans still have so much talent. Just maybe not quite cutting-edge equipment. 59.0, 16th place for Katie Uehlender.
0:00. 59 Sekunden auf die Punkt für Katie Uehlender. Jetzt folgt ihre Sarah Roderick.
A multiple Olympian, her eyes certainly on Milan Cortina 2026. And then who knows what? Maybe another attempt at making a Winter Games team. Top of the ice, the USA's Sarah Roderick. She's had a good season so far. Katie Uehlender, her teammate, 16th. Behind Mystique Rowe in the points. Sarah Roderick, 17th. Best result of the season, 9th place in Altenburg. World Cup personal best outside of North America. Starts 5:38, that's 5th quickest in the field. Not going to be many faster than that. Extending her advantage early on over the leader Janine Flock from 19 to 2600s with this slightly lopsided sliding style she always has. Her left arm clamped down the side of the sled, but her right shoulder and right elbow always sticking out a little bit. I don't know if that's an elbow joint thing or whether that's just always the way she's slid, and now she's welded into that position. Slips out of the lead, 1600ths back. Top 10 covered by 3500ths at the line. How far back will she be? 15th place, 58.94. Second half of the track is really carving them down, isn't it?
For Sarah Roderick, USA.
Well, maybe it's just becoming apparent below 9, the speed that they're losing a little higher up in 2:34. Again, this difficult transition. Got hard onto 6. And there's the run down. She's coming in completely on the wrong side into the Kreisel. That sends her straight up because she can't make it a corner. She just comes onto the turn.
They can be better.
Like leaving the pits in Daytona, you go straight up onto the banking. Well, you would do if they didn't make you keep to the apron. Next up, Anna Fernstedt for the Czech Republic. 18th of our 37 starters, so we're nearly halfway through the first heat. Don't forget, 25 fastest go through into Heat 2. 5:55 getaway, just a couple of hundreds quicker than Janine Flock. Although she now slides for the Czech Republic, Anna learned her craft with the German team, knows these tracks extremely well. And if she's going to do well, this is exactly the kind of place to do it. Building her advantage over Janine, but a long steer into the Kreisel. 4th best speed. This is promising. 200s in the lead still as she gets to 9. Only the 6th best speed. She's not going to be the leader at the line, but could this be a top 6 run for Anna Fernstedt? 5th best speed. 6th place is Kimberly Boss. No, 5th place tied with Hannah Neiser is Anna Fernstedt. 600s behind Jackie Pfeiffer and 800s out of the medals. Good first run for Anna Fernstedt. Well, there you saw the transition, 6 to 7. Came on sort of in the middle onto the Kreisel. Ideally would have liked to be a little more further right.
That was a surprise, huh?
It's always a nice surprise. Next up for Austria, Julia Erlacher. And Austria with a silver medal in the men's race from young Sami Meyer. His best ever World Cup performance. He led the first heat, took a silver at the end of the second, behind a runaway winner, Matt Weston. Julia 5:33, another strong starter. 2400s ahead of Janine Flock in the start area. Her more experienced teammate, but only by about 100 World Cup starts. Well, Julia still relatively new, but still with an advantage. 3500s becomes 2600s at the Kreisel. Only the 14th best speed is the telltale, though. And that means the speed's going away before you see the late flop off the Kreisel and the counter steer. 15th best speed and dropping into the red. Out of 11, here we go, down into the labyrinth. So how far does she drop? Is it going to be top 10 or just outside? Just outside. Tied, our second tie in the field. Tied with the world champion, Hallie Clark. Oh, if only she could have done that in February 24 rather than January 25. But look at that, she's delighted with that run.
Liebe Grüße an zu Hause, danke fürs Zuschauen.
Just came down a little early here. Centrifugal force pushed her back up to a late exit. And a little flop. Didn't have a massive panic. See how little of corner 8 they see. Of corner 6 they see, rather. Now, for Canada, Jane Channel. 20th of our starters. Jane Channel, bronze medalist here in 2015-16. 6th fastest starter still for Jane. 5:38 gives her nearly 2 tenths in hand over Janine Flock, and it's the same story we've seen from so many of our quick starters. Their initial acceleration builds that advantage early on, and then we get to here, 6 to 7, they're still in the green, and the question now is, where down the run does that speed go away? Because nobody is getting top speeds. Everybody is in the 10 to 15 speed bracket, rather than top 3 or 5 speeds. So the track is not as quick as it was. And a couple of mistakes creeping in as well. Oh, and a horrid 14 rolls off the final corner, 58.61. Not with the speed I think she wanted for the line that she wanted to hold. As a result, the speed dips. The sled dips and then comes back up over the line. Had to avoid the short wall on the inside on the slider's left shoulder. Again, watch the snow. That's going to slow you down. And then coming out of the final corner, head up and rolling off onto her shoulder. 14th for Jane Channel at the moment. Janine Flock still leading from Amelia Coltman and Mystique Grove. Grace Defoe for Canada, 21st place, chasing her teammate Jane Channel down the ice. .576 getaway for Grace. And that leaves her 1900s behind Janine Flock at the start. It's the 21st best start. She is our 21st athlete on ice. And the challenge here will be to make the second heat, as it is for so many of our younger sliders or less experienced sliders. Her results have gradually got better this season. 30th in Altenburg, 29th in Sigulda last time out before Christmas. Her best result of the year so far. If she can make the second cut here, the second heat, that would be a big step up. At the line, 59.84. Is that enough? It's going to be hard to tell. Well, just 5 sleds earlier, we saw from the Czech Republic Anna Fenster going half a second quicker, so maybe there is still speed in the track if you really know where to find it. Classroom Champions, the mentoring program set up by Olympic champion bobsledder, and a lot of athletes involved in mentoring kids at school. Alessia Crippa for Italy next up. 5:39, that's a really strong start. Only 8th in what is an increasingly competitive starting field, though. Mystique Rowe, 4th fastest starter, 5:33. 5:31 is the 3rd fastest start, so she's within a 10th of pretty much the quickest in the field. Alessia slips out of the lead now, though. And the speed, again, only 16th fastest. Is it the track, or is it the sliders, or is it just a combination of both? And again, the Italians have struggled to maintain their pace down the run this season. 58.84, 17th place. Well, a full second quicker than we were just seeing from Grace Defoe. So much is the individual sliders' single run performance, and you then throw into the mix the changing track surface and the equipment they've chosen. Again, you can see her there, counter steering, not to come too sideways onto 7. And on turn 7, the Kreisel. Clear view of the Edelweiss and the sunlit mountains. Kelly Curtis returning this season from becoming a mum last November 2023. And with her baby daughter on tour with her husband. They don't even live in the US, they live in Italy. So doubly separated from family support, not just by being on tour, but also by not being at home in the first place. And she has produced some very strong results, and her starting speed is starting to come back as well. 5:47, 12th fastest in the field, and she's still nursing an infant. 12th best speed. She had a pretty sizable hit in corner 6. And a late flop there as well, and a skid. This is all drawing the speed out of the sled. Same way when ice skates get sideways, they slow you down. When runners get sideways, they slow you down too. 12th at the start. Where is she at the line? 18th place. 200 slower than Alessia Crippa, who's just come down in front of her. So she is in 18th place out of our 23 sleds so far. There's the family unit. Late high exit, and then boom, can't get onto the corner. It comes at her too fast. Again, just a little late there. Came down early, centrifugal force pushed her back up. All right, back up to the top to get ready for a second heat. Song Siji of China is next up. Now, no Liang Yuxin, so her fellow Chinese rookie Song next up with 5:60 start time. Catching up with Dirk Mattens after Sigulda. He was pointing out the difficulties for the Chinese athletes. They're only allowed, non-Schengen athletes or residents or citizens are only allowed a maximum of 90 days in any calendar year inside the Schengen zone, in which almost all of our tracks are, apart from North America and Asia. That makes it very difficult for competing, and also very difficult for other training days, particularly in a season where you've got 2 weeks of World Championships, as well as probably 6 of your 8 World Cup races in Europe. 59.33. It was a tough day for Chinese male sliders, predominantly, apart from Lin Qingzi, who ended up tied for 4th place in the men's competition. The Song will undoubtedly get better with experience. Meanwhile, Alessandra Fumagalli perhaps anticipating a little bit of shoulder contact. Here it tends to be the left shoulder, particularly if you have a victory roll off the final corner, end up on that. So 5:57 is the leader's start. She starts 5:38, and that is the 6th quickest getaway. Alessandra just needs more ice miles to build on that starting performance. The further you can carry that pressure speed down the track, the better it is for you. A little high and loopy there. Skidding through 5. Here's the Kreis, corner 7. Nice line. Comes out pretty well. Little late flop. The speed is just falling off the sled. Looks, again, as we've seen a number of times this year, like it's just a little bit skiddy. She comes across the line at 21st place.
Finish time 58.95.
I think for some of our Italian athletes, Milan Cortina is possibly 4 years too early. So Alessandra Fumagalli in 21st place at the moment. And 25 sleds have now gone down. And that means that everybody else now has to push somebody out. Alessandra, 4 away from the tail, is not safe. Next up for Colombia, Laura Vargas. Lives and works in Canada. Started out sliding with the Canadian team. Now for Colombia, 5:86 getaway. Well, really started her World Cup career in earnest last season, did the first 3 races in Asia this year, didn't race in Altenburg or Sigulda. Hasn't made the cut so far in the 24-25 season. And at the moment, just behind Grace Defoe of Canada. Again, so much of this is about experience. And Lara working a lot, I'm sure, with her colleagues, former colleagues in the Canadian setup. 60.86. So no second heat today for Lara Vargas. 26th place, which leaves Grace Defoe still on the bubble with another 10 sleds to go. Well, Laura getting very sideways from 6 down to 7 and coming onto the Kreisel on the wrong side and really having to scrabble.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching.
So 1 and done for Lara Vargas. And who else is that going to be true for? Well, here is Switzerland's Julia Simchen. First full World Cup season for Julia. Made the cut in Sigulda. Just missed out at home in Altenburg. Made the cut as well in Yangqing in China. And Altenburg, her home track, because she actually lives in the region. That's where she was born and bred, but because of her dad's Swiss nationality, rather than her mother's Saxon roots, she slides for Switzerland. 5:78 start, 26 fastest. She's got to overhaul Grace Defoe of Canada to make it in. Grace 1.62 seconds back at the line. Look at the split on the right-hand side of the timing panel. 26th place at the moment. That needs to say 25 or lower at the line for her to be in the race at this stage. 27th best speed. She's not going to make it. Grace Defoe hangs on for another sled. 60.52 for Julia Simchen. Again started in Altenburg, learning with the German team before changing federations to slide for Switzerland. Little bump away there, and then you see, watch those. That pair of white lines is where the bobsleds go. Skeleton doesn't always follow, but the more you're meandering to and fro across those lines, the more ice you're covering. Disappointment not to make the cut here. Nana Johansson, we have a brother and sister combination for the second time this season. The younger sister of Rasmus Johansson, who slides for Denmark in the men's competition. Nana making her second World Cup start of her career. I'm trying to think, and I can't remember a time where we've had a brother and a sister competing in skeleton. I can remember brothers. Have we had sisters? I don't think so. I need to ask Katie Ulender or Ken Childs. They'll know more than me. 26th spot. So currently ahead of Lara Vargas and Julia Simchen. Can Nana Johansson get ahead of Grace Defoe? This might be close. 25th at the line. Grace is 1.62 back. She's not quite there. 1.83 back. So 27th at the start, 26th at the line. But Nana Johansson, the 18-year-old, 4th in the Youth Olympic Championships 2024 in Pyeongchang. So clearly the Danes believe that they have a young star in the making. Made her debut in Pyeongchang. And like her brother, training with the German team. Li Yuxi is our final Chinese slider in the field. Li, best result of the season, 15th place in Beijing, but has made the cut in every race so far, as you would rather hope. 2 15th place finishes in Beijing and in Sigulda last time out, so should not be in danger of missing the cut here, but should not and is not are not necessarily comfortable bedfellows. She's a quarter second up as she comes out of 6 into 7, and as we've seen from so many sliders, again in that sort of 12 to 20 in the speed range, so about in the middle of the pack for speed. But in terms of overall position, should happily make the second heat. Song Siji is 24th, Xiao Dan 16th. She's dropping behind Dan 17th. So Xiao Dan is 16th and Li Yuxi is 17th. And they are 700ths of a second apart.
Republic of South Africa, Winterberg.
So there is speed in the track. Just, yeah, it's all a bit of a balancing act, isn't it? Getting it all to work together.
Startnummer 31. Wir hatten ja eine, die nicht gestartet ist. Also, Start ist frei. Königsziel von Winterberg.
So we are ready to go with our next slider. 30th away in her second World Cup is Nicole Berger from South Africa. Training officer in 22 Group Royal Air Force, based at High Wycombe in the UK. 9. Hello, my timing screen is not giving me a start time for it. You saw it on screen briefly. So we'll work with that. 5:39 was the getaway. Thank you, Timo. Swiss timing have kicked in the B timing, 1700s back. Now, can Nicole Berger of South Africa make the cut? That would be a great step for her. Third World Cup start. She raced in both races in Pyeongchang, 29th and 33rd in what were some very mixed conditions on the Korean track. She's just slipping away, 26th at the line. That was close. That was close. 59.75, 26th position. And Song Siji remains in 25th. So no second run this time for Nicole. Very active in the Royal Air Force skeleton team in the UK. That's where she first found the sport.
Yeah. Hi, happy New Year.
Next up, Data Zunter for Estonia. Now competed in more skeleton races for Estonia than her native Latvia, with whom she started her skeleton sliding career. And again, for the Estonian slider, it's been pretty much 50-50. Well, it's not. She's made the cut in 3 of the 5 races so far this season. Best result of the year came at last time out in Sigulda, 19th place finish. 5:55, 18th fastest getaway. If she can maintain that down to the bottom, then she's got a good chance She's already drifted out to 26th place on the splits. It's an increasingly tough job to make the field in the World Cup races for the second heat. It's an increasingly tough job to make the field in the World Cup, full stop, actually. There's so much talent from so many different nations. 26 on the splits, not enough speed at the bottom. She's not going to get to Song Si-ji. She's ahead of Nicole Berger of South Africa, but she's a 10th away from 25th place. So you need to be pretty much below 59.30 to get a second run, or even a shot at one. Data Zunter comes up a 10th shy. Another athlete effectively sliding on her own. Nation of one. There's no male Estonian slider in the World Cup. There's no bobsleigh team from Estonia in the World Cup. She's it. And that does make it tough. Tough too for Katrina Eigenmann of Liechtenstein. Occasional bobsleigh performers. But you tend to be a one-man band, one-woman band. 39th in the World Cup rankings this season. Just one start this year in the World Cup, that was in Altenburg. Finished in 32nd place. .2400s behind the race leader at the start, out to 4200s now. Again, for these less experienced athletes, particularly in the smaller nations setups, and the two do tend to go hand in hand. If you're a German slider, you tend to be pretty darn experienced by the time you are promoted to the World Cup team. It's the lack of experience, that lack of knowledge, that not so much eyes-on coaching either. You tend to have to work a lot out for yourself. And so athletes from the smaller nations often tend to work together with each other. I'm sure Katrina has a number of friends in the changing rooms, male and female skeleton athletes, who she's swapping notes with and trying to get information from. And it's not just the mentoring program that the IBS have set up that helps the newer athletes, and particularly those from the smaller nations, but it's other athletes as well. Because it is you against the mountain and the stopwatch. What anybody else does doesn't affect your race. Only you affect your race. And so there's that common bond between all these athletes, no matter who they slide for. Ooh, Sarah Schmidt, just as she was going under the camera, didn't see quite what happened there as she got spat out of the groove, but almost came into shot at the zero kink backwards. Want to see a long shot of that if we've got one from somewhere. Not sure I've seen a start like that. And that, of course, has completely scrambled her run, because not only is her brain in turmoil, because nothing like that's ever happened before, but also she doesn't have anything approaching the speed that she wants to run the lines that she's rehearsed. So she's making it up as she goes along, trying to figure it out, brain working overtime, and actually making it look like nothing special happened at the start. So hats off to her for a commendable recovery. I think the finish time is slightly irrelevant. After the start she had, the fact that she got it down looking like she was on top of the sled rather than chasing it. So she loads, so far so good, arms in position, so far so good, and comes out of the grooves. It just gives her a little kick, and then what happens? She hits the wall, and she comes into shot, almost, well, fully sideways into the zero curve.
Ja, super sie.
Well, let's hope 2025 can only get better for Sarah Schmidt. What about Spain's Clara Aznar? Teammate Adrian Rodriguez didn't make the cut in the men's race. Let's see if Clara can do so, manages to get round the zero kick with her head in the right direction at least. Just started 2 World Cups so far this season. She raced in Pyeongchang. The whole team did. None of them were in Beijing. But then she was not in Altenburg or Sigulda either. 30th speed of the 31st start. This is all about improving your performance, not necessarily measuring yourself against the leader. That's just the way the timing system works. You're measuring yourself against you. You want to be a better you in 25 in terms of pace, performance and consistency than you were in 24. Whether you're first or 31st doesn't make any difference. That is always the target, to improve your own performance, and there's only one way of doing that, and it comes from between your ears. It's about experience, it's about ice miles, it's about training and dedication. And whether you are a multiple world champion or the rawest of rookies starting hidden away in the Europe Cup somewhere, or Asia Cup, or North America's Cup, long away from the big time of the World Cup and the World Championships and the Olympic Games, it's all about self-improvement. So Clara Aznar is down and done. Song Siji of China still tentatively hanging on in 25th place. And the final 3 sleds may not depose her. Let's see what Ana Torres Quevedo can produce for Spain. 6th World Cup of the season, 5th World Cup of the season for Anna.
First time, 6 seconds. Exactly.
31st in Sigulda, the best results so far this season. And she gets off with a 6 dead start. And that makes life tough here on the Winterberg track. Whoa, and so does that. Little high on the exit of 5, scraping through 6 into 7. 35th at the start, improving to 30th on the split times. Little bit of a late exit, 35th across the line, 101.05. So you saw Ana Mirambel, the man who looks after all these Spanish athletes, the driving force behind the programme. And for a country with very little winter sport heritage, Spain and Ana particularly really pushing this young programme, recruiting the athletes, running Spanish, recruiting and training programs, running a Spanish championship as well each season, just giving them all the love. Elena Peltmans, the second of our Belgian sliders. Now Kim Armans trains with Nicole Silveira of Brazil, but Elena Peltmans also trains with a Low Countries partner. She trains with Kimberly Bos of the Netherlands, so also looked after by Kristen Bromley. .576 getaway, 29th fastest, 26 best speed into the Kreisel. So she's 28th on the splits. Is she going to get to Song Siji? I don't think she's got enough speed. I don't think she had enough at the start. Song outstarting it by 1600ths. 26 best speed at the bottom, and Elena Peltmans 28th at the line.
One woman in the first heat.
So, best result this season was in the opener in Pyeongchang, the topsy-turvy race. She made the second heat, finished in 24th place. Next best, 27th in Beijing. So Song Shiji hanging on, one sled to go. Looks like the Chinese slider will probably get a final run. Our last slider this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are, is from Malta. Shannon Gellier is back. Second World Cup start of the season. She raced in Sigulda just before Christmas. Oh, was that a hit with the wall that we picked up on the camera? I think it might have been. Out of corner two, the Omega curve. And a little left-handed dink that is corner three. Causes so many problems keeping the speed up this flat early part of the Winterberg track. You go uphill into four, then start building speed out of corner five, trying hard not to hit on six. Not a bad looking Kreisel, but the low line shows you she doesn't have a huge amount of speed on board. Well, from the tiny Mediterranean island of Malta. As ever, some random paths leading our athlete into this field. Not like most of them were born and bred around a track. 101.50. So Shannon Gellier of Malta in 37th place. One and done off a 6:11 start. Always good to see the athletes from these small nations. They just drip passion for this sport. I wonder how many times her friends have told her she must be mad. There definitely has to be some of that. I think their first ever skeleton run, judging by what all the athletes say, goes one of two ways. Either you run away screaming and never go back, or you run straight back to the top of the ride and go, let me go again. Well, from Malta to Austria, Shannon Gellier in 37th place at the end of the first heat. It is Janine Flock who leads by the smallest margin possible, 100th of a second. But she has the lead nonetheless. We had an Austrian leader after the first heat of the men's race in Sami Meyer. We have an Austrian leading the women's race in Janine Flock. Amelia Coltman on her coattails, as is Mystique Rowe and Jackie Pfeiffer. Then a tie, Anna Fernstedt and Hannah Neisser. Kimberly Boss, a three-time winner here, just 2100s back. Don't count her out. What a great set of first runs. Two dead heats in the lead order, and then look how tiny the margins are. 100th here, 200ths there. We've got three dead heats in the top 20 alone. Top 25 go through, so Song Shiji of China will be first off as we go 25 down to 1 in the second and deciding heat. And that will come up with the athletes on ice at 14:45, which seems like a long time away. 14:45 local, 13:45 GMT, 08:45 Eastern. We'll see you then for the deciding runs here in Winterberg.
Offizielle Bahrzeit, Official Track Time, 14:19 Uhr. In 30 Minuten startet der zweite Lauf. In 30 minutes will start the second heat.